Alright, it is time to do the coloring on the mermaid tail to help this translucent Primo that we put in kind of blend in with the rest of the doll. And then I also want to give her a wet look, so I'm going to be using triple thick for that. So right now I just have some things out. I'm using my Pinata inks. There's also this Adirondack alcohol ink. I've got both colors. I'm just going to play around with them a little bit and see what I want. And then I also have this is just rubbing alcohol. And I will use that to thin out these inks. And then I have a few different powdered pearls, which are just mica powders. I think this one's actually a Pearl X kind. And some bronze and copper, so I can play with those and see what I want to add to the triple thick that I use on the doll. So those are the supplies I have on hand. I also have some of these little beads in the back to give her some bubbles if I decide to do that as well. Alright, here in the background you can see the triple thick gloss glaze that I'll be using as well. Now what I've done here is I've put a drop of the green and a drop of the bluish color onto this little plastic lid, and then mostly I just cover those back up, put them away so I don't make a mess with them, and then I use this alcohol. And I always keep like a wet wipe nearby too, because it could be messy and you want to keep your hands as clean as possible. So what I'm going to do is just use some of this alcohol and dilute the ink and then just start painting it on her fins. Mostly I want to get this whitish color from the Primo clay to be darker so it's not so abrupt. It's got a little of that. That was mostly the green. Add in a little bit of the blue as well. You can do layers of this. Just beware that each time you add some of the alcohol, it will kind of start to remove whatever's there before. So just be mindful, and also remember that if you need to remove it, that's how you can do it, is just use that rubbing alcohol. And then if you want to lighten it all, you can use the wet wipe, or just a piece of material would be good. So that's how we've done that one. In this process, I find I need to I keep refilling the alcohol on my little tray here because it evaporates crazy fast. The ink, however, seems to stay pretty well, so I don't usually have to refill that. But I want just a subtle greenish bluish hue to this fin. There, you can tell I added a bit more color, and so I'm just going to blend it into the tail. To this fin. It really helps to accentuate the dimension of the fin like this. You just give it a little bit more color like that. And then when you add the triple thick, it's just going to be gorgeous. So the fun part about mermaids really is that you can just have fun with the organic characteristics of the inks and the different powders and such, just to kind of make it turn into something cool. You never will know until the very end what you end up with, and that's fun to do. Alright, I've got it a little bit much on her bottom there. So I'm going to take the wet wipe and rub that away a little bit. If it was way too much, I could use just the ink. Just the rubbing alcohol itself, but that's sufficient to get it to kind of just be a blended look. You can just do this to however you desire. It's really just completely up to you and what your preference is. So I'm going to repeat the same process onto her fin down here, this bottom tail. Alright, and as you go, remember None of this is set in stone. You can delete with the alcohol again if you need to. That's nice. See how that green just helped it to blend in. And you can also use the different mica powders when you're using the triple thick layer. Alright, so I've done just mostly green on her tail. And it's actually called Rainforest Green for the Pinata ink there. And so now I'm going to take it just up the tail a bit. You can see it kind of moves around on its own a little bit. Kind of finds little places where it likes to just snuggle in there, I suppose. And it just really helps to add some dimension to this. Okay, now I've got a bit too much going on right now, so I'm going to just move it up. And I also really like to do the edges, because that looks pretty cool. But just have fun, play with it. This is really one of the funnest parts of these dolls. Now I just got to check the back because I don't want it to be too thick in other areas, and you want it to always be blending in. There, that gave her a bit more green. There, see, you can see that right side is the side that we just did. This left side doesn't have the ink on it yet. What a difference it makes. Just to really make the colors a lot more vibrant and fun. This ink just really blends well with the iridescent colors that are in the Angelina films. So they're really fun to use together. And then we'll end up painting this whole thing with the triple thick glaze, and that way it will seal in this ink too. Then we'll do this to the fins as well down here. Okay, before I get out the triple thick, I get out my powdered pearls, and I like to put some right on my little lid that I'm going to be putting the triple thick on so I can blend them in together. And it's kind of like a little palette of colors I want to use. And then also, you're going to need to make sure that you've got something for your doll to sit in while she's drying. So this one, I found that she fits pretty well into this little ceramic paintbrush holder that I have. And I've put a little sock in there to keep her, you know, so her head is against softness. I'm not going to paint her like this, I don't think. I'll hold her up normal, but as soon as I'm ready to let her sit for a while and completely dry, overnight would be ideal. I've made sure that she's nice and steady in this, and she'll be able to dry, and we'll have no problems that way. Alright, time to put on the triple thick. So I've poured on some triple thick. This jar is relatively new, so it's thinner than it will get because it thickens up over time. That's about how much I'll use, and I'll let you know how long it lasted me.